Okay.
So we're here live on location today because Telsi is going to be doing her first animal flow course here at House Fitness. And so we're just doing like a quick, short podcast beforehand, video podcast, just trying to cover some of like what got her to this point in doing animal flow and now running a whole boot camp around it at House Fitness. So let's just go over kind of like what got you into animal flow, and we'll briefly just kind of do like a little bit of like a Telsi focused episode to shine the light on this whole cool event that's going on, and we'll try to get some footage for like the actual animal flow practice course that we're going to be doing, and we'll see what goes on, but I'm going to actually be taking part in it, so we don't know how much of the filming will go on. So animal flow is something that you're basically spearheading in Peterborough. So what got you involved in it, or how did you even hear about it? Like I've seen it because a previous strongman training partner, Dane, was really focused on doing it, and it is a big thing in Toronto, but in Peterborough, like, you're going to be the first one. So how did you get into it, and like how did that all come about?
Yeah, so my first ever hearing of animal flow was actually at the CanFit Pro Fitness Expo in 2016.
Okay, so a couple years.
No, 2016.
Yeah.
So it's been a couple years since I've heard of it. I know it's been around for much longer, like upwards to 10 years right now, which is crazy. Seeing as though so many people are still so unaware of this sport art situation. So yeah, I heard of it there. A friend of mine, or a coworker I was working at Good Life at the time in London. One of my coworkers signed up for like you can do these like mini camps at the expo. So it's just like an hour here, an hour there, and it's a really fun day of learning, like micro courses, if you will. Okay. So she took an animal flow course and did it for an hour with Mike Fitch, who's the creator of Animal Flow, and was just something in me was like, that sounds so cool, but I was not aware of it upon sign up. So I never invested in that. I was doing other kinds of like trigger point therapy courses and shoulder courses and stuff like that. So I heard her say it, and she was just kind of like, meh, not that cool. And then something in me was just so like, no, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So my background is in gymnastics, which is largely body weight practice. And so anything like that allows me to control my body in fluid ways while incorporating some sort of strength and power to it is like home-based for me. So when I heard about Animal Flow, I was like, no, that sounds right. And I just kind of put a pin in that in the back of my mind.
Yep.
And I didn't pursue it for 3 years. And it was just kind of cooking. We've got some deadlifts going on over
I don't
here,
mind.
So.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a bit closer so that we're kind of less of the background noise, perhaps. It should be good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I put a pin in it, and I just kind of was like, I'm going to learn this one day. I just don't know when the day is going to come. And then I ended up taking a sizable amount of time off of personal training in general. Like I stopped training for about a year and a half in between 2016 and, well, beginning of 2018 pretty well.
Yeah.
And I needed more, first off, I needed more continuing education credits for my certification to stay a legit trainer.
Oh, okay. Right.
And upon coming back to training here at House Fitness, I was like, okay, I feel good at what I do, but I want that something that sets me apart. I want that something special. And I just did some quick Googling, and there was a mental competition for me of whether or not to do the Agatsu kettlebell training, like level 1 certification.
Yeah.
It was happening 2 days after Animal Flow level 1 certification.
Oh.
Which I was like, whoa, that's a power weekend of like all the things I love to do. I love kettlebells, I love Animal Flow. And I ended up choosing Animal Flow.
Cool.
So here we are.
So I think it works in your favor too that way, because there are some kettlebell specialists in Peterborough already. So it is something that's new to the city, and you get to lead the way with that. So something that like really interests me about this whole thing is I know you were still in school, like you're finishing up your degree, and you're in the last little bit here now.
3 weeks.
3 weeks left. That's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
But so you're super busy with school. You're also working, and you wanted to tackle like this animal flow thing. Like, talk to me a little bit about what goes through your mind in order to, you know, some people might think that's like biting off more than they can chew. You know, it's a lot of time commitment and just sort of also being very strategic. So like, what are some of the strategies you did with your time to make it work for you?
I mean, I've spent my whole life biting off more than I can chew. My parents are high achievers and reaching burnout all the time.
Okay.
I've learned to kind of dabble that way too. It's like, do as much as you can and then take a big rest. So that's familiar for me. I really enjoy staying busy and learning something new. And I've struggled, this is maybe a different conversation altogether, but I've struggled identifying as a student. That's just something I kind of do. When people ask me what I do, I'm a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I happen to be in full-time school.
Right.
So it's funny how that mental block is there. And I'm not sure why, and I'll dive into that on my own time. But I really, really love personal training. And like I said, I wanted something that sets me apart here. And just something fun. Like, I'm really big on play. And I think that the gym doesn't need to be, unless you like this, it doesn't need to be repetitive movements all the time. It can be playful movements, and it can be flows and sequences and complexes and things like that. And that's, for me, what stimulates my brain the most to enjoy fitness.
Yeah.
So having that sort of project was just enough fuel to help me fuel my school drive, because I'm like, okay, I don't have much time to do school, let's do it. Let's get this done, let's move forward. Yeah. Same with work, like it's just like, hey, I gotta schedule my clients in a smart way, so that I have time to invest in learning animal flow as my own practice. The blessing of being in fitness and working in a gym is that I have the gym space to practice this in.
Totally.
So I was able to incorporate a lot of animal flow in my own workouts, which is cool. I never necessarily did full animal flow workouts, but I would do supersets just to kind of learn movements and then go back to what I knew, just to keep everything fresh in my mind and my nervous system. So that's pretty much how I just would carve out time, be smart with my time management. And then did you want to talk about my financial strategies? Is that what we were headed
we can
to,
jump into, but actually something
sure
we can, it definitely goes into it, but something that you mentioned there was like, just kind of like painting this roadmap. You know, we're trying to also encourage people to go after their own goals, and something that kind of came about just because of what you did with, you mentioned practicing in the gym and doing those supersets and stuff. Talk about like how much interest was just organically built around animal flow because people saw you doing it, and it was like the first time something like this was done in the gym or even in the city, right?
Peterborough, I didn't realize I'm the only one in Peterborough who's been through the course. Right. So as much as, like, there's a few people who follow the big Instagram gurus in this gym that know of animal flow but have never tried it themselves. And so the first day I did it, there was a couple in here who, they're like, it's fun to watch them, they're like kettlebell dancers. They like choreograph their things and play around with it. And so the one guy was like, is that animal flow? And I was like, yeah. So that was really cool to connect on that level, and it was really good confirmation for my mind, because I was just like, are people going to care about this? Like, are people going to know what it is? All that stuff. So that was a really good, like, the first time I ever did it in this gym, it got noticed, and that was good for me. And then also just like, okay, Peterborough might be hungry for this. And then I had another guy, we have a handful of like either past MMA fighters in here or boxers and that kind of thing. And there was one guy that was like, hey, is that like primal movements? Like, is that? And I'm like, yeah, sort of. Like, that's what it's based off of, but it's called animal flow. And he's like, that's cool. Like, Conor McGregor does that kind of stuff in his practice. And so that created a conversation around the benefits of animal flow for fighters. A lot of fighters do animal flow or something very similar. So I was able to talk to that crew about it. And then I had a lot of really interesting conversations of people being like, oh, that's cool, you're doing yoga in the gym. And so that was a good way to kind of introduce animal flow to people, of just like, no disrespect to yoga, it's just not yoga. It's
Yep.
something quite
It's-
different.
yep.
And so I was able to, I'll wait this one out for a second.
Oh, it's okay. I don't know.
People gotta work.
Yeah.
I was able to educate people on animal flow that way. And some of the funnier instances was, I'd be going through a full scorpion and my foot would smack into the person beside me because they weren't expecting it to move in that direction.
Yeah.
So that was one way to introduce it to people as well.
Yeah, cool.
And so that's kind of the organic exposure I got to it, and it's a really Instagrammable sport.
It definitely is.
So I was able to make some posts and get some conversation going on the internet as well.
I feel like almost everybody's at least seen it from somebody that they follow or know about. It is very much like that.
Yeah.
And then I guess like the other thing that ties into like this whole timeline and actually accomplishing it is with like goals like this, kind of the budget that goes into it. And I know that you talked about how that kind of went into play. Now, how did you like convince yourself that it was still something you wanted to do at this point in time, even though budget was really tight, being a student and everything like that? What kind of went through your mind to get you over that hurdle?
So I am a full-time student and a part-time personal trainer. However, in my brain, I'm a full-time personal trainer. That being said, my income is like half of what it could be being done school. So buying into an almost $800 course is a little scary. So I kind of did some number crunching, and I was like, okay, I can't afford this like right offhand. So how am I gonna like make this work? And Animal Flow was happening in May. It was in January when I started to budget for it.
Okay.
So I was able to at least have enough time to be like, okay,
Planning ahead a bit.
Yeah, I gotta plan a bit. And so I was like, oh, my income tax return is gonna come in just before that. So I made a plan that my father would say is not as wise. I spent money before I had the money, thanks to credit cards and line of credits. And I was like, you know what? A lot of what's holding me back financially right now from investing is just the fear of expansion, the fear of growth, and learning something new that I may or may not be good at. And I had this mental block in my head for a long time, and I actually talked to you about it, being like, maybe I'll do it next year, or like maybe I won't. And you were just like, no, I think you should just do it. So yeah, once I got over that, like I realized most of it was fear more than finances that was holding me back. Like I've always found a way to make things happen if I want to make it happen. And I think that's an important note with prioritizing finances is you'll find a way if it's meant to be something in your life. So yeah, I put it on my credit card, and I waited for my income tax to come in, and it was kind of nerve-wracking because like I didn't know how much I was getting, but like I knew around what I usually get, so I was like, okay, it's going to be covered by that, and then we'll be good. And my dog was getting spayed a month after, so I had to plan for that as well. Like that was another $500 out of pocket. So I had all these things. So I was like, okay, I need like $1,500 to be comfy with all of this stuff. So I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. Then I get my income tax return in, and I forgot about the whole student part of income tax, and I got $100. Sweet, that was awesome. So that set in some panic, but I had a moment of like, you know what? I needed that at least false belief of having money coming in to take the step into Animal Flow, to be like, no, I'm doing this because of just that actual fear that was holding me back, of like fear of not being good at it, or fear of like, I don't know who's gonna be there, that kind of thing, performance anxiety. And then, I made it work. And it's all good. It's paid off, and it's going to pay off more with upcoming boot camps too. And so, long story short is like, as much as I didn't think I had it in my budget, I just had to be a little crunchy for a couple months, and it's
cool.
Yeah, I made it work.
Okay, so just kind of wrapping up. You're way overbooked for this like free trial session, which is awesome. Lots of people coming, so you're actually doing 2 back-to-back sessions. It's going to be a lot of work, very tiring, but well worth it, because now it's about building this interest and I think you said you're pretty much full up for the evening session that you're starting.
Yeah.
And it's what, a 6-week boot camp?
Yeah, it's going to be a 6-week boot camp twice a week. So both of them run Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting the 23rd of July. However, the first one will be 12 till 1, so like a lunchtime boot camp kind of thing for those who can make it out. And then I've got a 6 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Perfect.
one as well.
Yeah, just so that all the bases are covered. The after work crowd in the gym, and then like the lunchtime warriors that are coming in during their time frame. Then that's awesome, and so I'm sure it's going to continue on from there, and the next 6 weeks after that, and everything, and it'll just keep on rolling.
Dreams coming true.
Yeah. So that's awesome, and now I guess you've got to do some filming for the testing part, because sort of today's like the final day for like this certification, right?
It's not the final day, but it's
Okay.
like it was my personal deadline.
Yeah.
The final day will be just before Labor Day weekend.
Oh, okay.
Of like being able to fully submit my test out videos and things like that.
Cool.
And I just wanted to make sure I got that done before I started the boot camp, so that I can have that confirmation, like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Animal Flow says I know what I'm doing, and then now I can legally use the term Animal Flow.
Right.
And I can legally teach it.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go get warmed up now, because I don't want to pull a hammy or anything.
Yeah, you might want to warm your hip flexors up a bit.
Yeah,
open your shoulders up.
Exactly. So let's wrap it up. But
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for this quick little session. We'll see how it goes. Maybe people like a little more quick, digestible clips sometimes. We've been getting longer and longer in the podcast, I think, as like the conversation evolves.
Yeah.
It's like there's always more to stack upon it. So it's like it gets, I don't know. I like a good length podcast, but it's sometimes good to do like these digestible ones too, and just people that maybe don't always tune in because it's a little too long or whatever can find some good info here.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, this was fun. Hopefully, the fitness junkies in the background didn't cause too much distraction. But,
hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully they don't mind that we turned off the music to at least get decent audio quality here.
Howard says he's got music going through his head all the
sweet.
time, so he's
Perfect.
good, and everyone else has headphones. So.
All right.